Okay, guys, welcome to the podcaster's journey. My name is Caleb Stock. I'm going to be your host for this journey as we journey through my journey. How many more times can I say the word journey? As we work through my journey of becoming a podcaster. So in this, it's going to be kind of an open journal type of podcast where you're going to be learning from my mistakes. I'm going to be bringing people in who are experts so that we can all learn about podcasting together. And in this episode, we're going to be talking about why this podcast. But before we dive into that, let me introduce you to myself and talk a little bit about my background so that you can know me and know a little bit of my story. So I'm a musician by trade. I've been teaching piano lessons basically since I graduated college 10 years ago. Started that on the streets of Nashville, cutting my teeth there, and I don't know if that's actually a saying, cutting my teeth, but we're gonna roll with it. So I got my start there in Nashville with Mobile Music Academy and just teaching people. It was a great way to learn the city, driving all over that in Uber. Since then, I've got a studio here out of my home that I work with students, and I like to call them artists in training. And I have a real desire to release music and to go the artist route. But there's been a journey that I've been on with that for the last couple of years. I also, which we'll probably get into more as the podcast unfolds, so I'm not going to go into that too much today. I also work with a local church here in the Chattanooga area, helping out with their worship arts program. So mixing front of house on the weekends and playing keys in their band sometimes, and just helping out during the week there with the worship pastor. Shout out to Casey, and just getting into a lot of fun projects over there. So that's a little bit about me. I am a husband, a musician, an entrepreneur, and a creative. And so let's talk a little bit about the goal of this podcast. So the goal of this podcast for me came about as a recommendation by my business coach, Matt Chenard. If you're looking for a great business coach, a Christian business coach who can help you take things to the next level, I would highly recommend you look him up. But I've been developing this business to help other people cut through the noise with their podcast. And my business coach was like, I think you need to start a podcast. And it always had been on the back of my mind to start one. I'd always kind of liked the idea, but had never had the reason or the courage, maybe, I guess, to actually step out and make it happen. So here we are making it happen. And what this podcast is going to be all about is going to be, as I mentioned earlier, just kind of an open journal of my journey with the world of podcasting and going from not knowing a whole lot other than how to edit it and create good audio quality for a podcast to being a podcast guru, so to speak, knowing the ins and outs of it and knowing how to help my customers and my clients cut through the noise with their podcast. And I'm going to use myself as a guinea pig. And the reason I'm doing this is because I want to create a stable form of income for my family. I want to take the financial burden completely off my wife and create an income stream for our family that would allow her to be a full-time stay-at-home mom someday. And also allow me the flexibility as the income earner in our family to be able to work, kind of less hours so that I can have more time to create art and create art in a way that is actually for art's sake and not for monetary gain. And that might come out more in my views on that might come out more in this podcast as we go along. But that's kind of the gist of it. It's going to be a tool for you guys to be able to learn. I'm going to be positioning myself as a guide to give you information in your journey as a podcaster, whether you're a brand or just a one-man show. So let's dive in and keep going here. So why this podcast? No, it's going to be a little rough on the first one, but so the podcast overview, I'm looking to what you can expect from this podcast, what I'm planning to do and what I'm committing to do for you guys. If you're listening to this first episode, I want you to hold me accountable. I'm committing to creating 100 quality podcast episodes before I even look up to see how it's going. as far as like what are my metrics and that sort of stuff. I'm setting out to make a big dent of content so that I can actually test things out. Now, that doesn't mean I'm not going to look up and listen to what you guys are saying as the listeners. And the people that I'm targeting when it comes to who I'm trying to reach with this message. I want to hear from you guys, and I want to know how these podcasts are coming across, what would be helpful for you, what kind of interviews you would like to hear me do, that sort of stuff. But I'm committing to doing 100 episodes before I look up to reevaluate if I need to continue this project or not. So I'm committing to that. And the reason I picked that number, it's not just a random number. According to podmatch.com/report, it takes an average 100 episodes over the course of about 2 years for podcasts to really start seeing results. And so I want to give this an actual good try. I don't want to just throw up a few episodes, maybe even say 25 or 30 episodes, which is kind of a good amount for a first season, and say, well, that didn't really take off. Because only the chance of making it there to 100 episodes is 6.73%, according to podmatch.com. And I've seen a lot of other stats. If you're starting a podcast, it's pretty bleak and pretty dismal. And so that's kind of the reason I even started looking into this and trying to create frameworks and build a business around helping other people with their podcasts, is because I was like, you know what? There's a huge need here for people to be able to something that people can kind of walk into and step into, because I believe a lot of people have really great ideas to share, and a lot of other people have really great need to learn from these people who can share. But when you get down to it, there's so much stuff being published every day that it's so easy to get lost in all the noise, and all these great people who have great things to share aren't going to connect with the people who need to hear their message. And so I was like, with a chance of only 7%, only 7% of people who start are going to succeed, I want to help close the gap on that and bring it up. Even if it's just a few percentage points, hopefully we can get it up to like 60% success rate, something like that. But if we can bring it up even up to 10%, that's going to be a huge win. And I don't believe that I'll be able to do that by myself. I believe it's going to take all of us joining in and figuring this out together. So that's kind of the overview of this podcast and where I want it to go and what I'm trying to achieve and accomplish with that. For this season, for season 1, what I'm trying to accomplish is is going to be stages of my personal journey and just kind of journaling that verbally with you guys and sharing it that way. I want to give you actionable tips and tools that you're going to be able to use. Spoiler alert, the tool for today is going to be my prompts for ChatGPT and how I write my episode outline, so that I kind of have a system in place to be able to create this content. I want to be able to do interviews and case studies with podcasts that have done well, and podcast coaches, and just different tips and things that they can offer to us as we're learning together. And so that's my goal for this first season. It's going to be a documentary style of my startup phase, so that you guys can study it, and hopefully it can be a guide for you guys. And hopefully by the end of this, I'm going to do about probably 30 episodes in this first season. So hopefully by the end of this, 1/3 of that 100 episodes that I'm looking to do from the get-go, I'm hoping that after I get through the 1/3 of those, that I'll have some really actionable steps distilled. So hopefully if you're discovering this in about 6 or 8 months time from now, there'll be more resources that'll be available to you other than just this podcast. So let's dive in. Why this podcast? So we talked a little bit about earlier, and I alluded to the fact of why I started this podcast, and it's because of the overwhelming number of podcast episodes uploaded daily. So I started to do some digging into this, and it is really dismal, guys. It's crazy. And it shouldn't maybe be that shocking for me as a musician, and knowing how many songs get uploaded to places like Spotify every day. But in this form of media where there's people talking, there is according to podcastindex.org, there were 76,443 episodes uploaded in the past 3 days as of Monday, August 26, 2024. It's going to date the podcast a little bit, but hey, I just want you guys to know where I'm getting these stats and how recent they are. So if we break that down, that is like walking into a room of 25,000 people, 25,000 different people talking every single day. I grew up in my hometown is Canyon City, Colorado. Shout out to Colorado and Canyon Cityites. It's a small town. I looked up the census as of 2022, and there was a little over 17,000 people. So if everybody in my hometown recorded an episode and uploaded it, we're still going to be like 8,000 people shy of meeting how many podcasts are generally uploaded every day, or on average every day, to all the streaming platforms. As I mentioned earlier, that's like walking into a room. If you've recorded something and you have something you want to share with the world, a conversation that you want to start with people, that's like you walking into a room with 25,000 other people who are talking. How in the world do you break through that noise? How in the world do you connect with the people that you're trying to impact with your message? It's literally a sea of podcasts out there. So that's kind of the not so good news, I guess you could say, about podcasting, is that it seems really inundated. And I mean, it makes sense. The barriers to entry are super low. I'm shooting this on my iPhone. If I wasn't an audio guy and didn't have an audio interface and a mic already kind of set up and had done some work for some other podcasts in the past, I could use a second iPhone and just record the audio right off of there and get fairly decent quality from that if I knew what I was doing and positioned it properly. Or you can order, this might be another good option for people who are just starting. You can order these little wireless lapel mics that magnet right onto your shirt. Magnet clip right onto your shirt. I think they're like $130, and that would go directly into your iPhone, and you're not going to have to sync your audio later. So the barriers to entry to create good quality as far as video and audio go are fairly low, and you can get on YouTube and learn how to use some editing tools for video and make your video look a little better as far as color, lighting, and that sort of stuff. And you can also get on there and learn how to use like GarageBand or Audacity and make your audio sound fairly good as well. So again, the barriers to entry are super low, so it's not crazy to understand why there's so many podcasts coming out. But the good news is, in the midst of how much noise there is, and what I'm really excited about, and as I dove into the numbers, this is what kind of caught my eye, is that there's the listenership for podcasting just continues to go up year after year. And I was looking up some research on that, and let me find where I'm at here in my notes. I was looking at a couple different spots. So I'm just going to read some of these to you. According to the Edison Research, the Infinity Dial 2021, approximately 80 million Americans, 28% of the 12 plus population are now weekly podcast listeners. So that was a 17% increase over 2020. So we see this growth in 1 year from this report in 2021 from 2020. And that's from the edisonresearch.com. Now, that data conflicts a little bit with this next one, and this next bit of data is from Statista.com. I'm not sure which one is going to be more accurate, but they both tell the same story, even though the numbers are a little different. So 70 million people listened to podcasts in 2023. Could have been that 80 million went down 10 million in a year. It's possible, as we were coming away from COVID. From 21 and 20 and going into 23, the numbers could have gone down, but the number of people listening to podcasts in 2023 were 70 million. That number is projected to reach 110 million by 2029. So that's like almost 40 million new users. It's like a 50% increase over the next 5 years. And this is already after 9 consecutive years of increasing listenership. So going back to 2015, that's from Statista.com as well. So what I'm seeing is there's a huge influx of creators coming into the podcasting space. There's a huge number of podcasters who are dropping off like flies every day. because only about 7% of those podcasters are going to stay active and make it past the 100 episodes mark. But there's also this huge influx of listeners. People are just listening to podcasts more. So I see a huge table for podcasters to come sit at and to make a living and to share their story and to benefit other people's lives, because there's a ton of people already at the table ready to hear this knowledge and ready to be impacted by people's stories, just like yours. And there's not a great way for podcasters to be sustainable and to share good quality there. It's just kind of hit or miss. So my goal for this podcast is to create frameworks and tools to combat these low barriers to entry so that, yeah, everybody can just get in here and start talking, but I want to help you create quality content, and I want to help you do it in a way that's manageable and sustainable for your life. Because at the end of the day, if it's not easy enough for you to just sit down and do it, it's not going to happen. So, I'm just throwing way too many stats at you guys, but there's only 12% of podcasts that make it to the 50%, the 50 episode mark. So it's a little higher chance of making it there. But again, it's just a long-term game, guys. And that's why I put my head down and made the overall goal for this podcast to produce 100 episodes. 100, I'm not sure if I'm going to say weekly. They're going to be in seasons. They might come out weekly still, but for sure the seasons are going to be coming weekly. I might take a little break in between, but I am not going to quit producing until I get to 100 episodes. And I'm just trying to drive that home for you guys that, like, it's not about where you are right now. It's not about what content you can produce right now. It's about the content you're going to produce. I guarantee you, when I get to my 100th episode, and I've done 99 more after this one, it's going to be so much easier. It's going to sound so much better. It's going to look so much better. And the flow is going to be a lot better. I'm kind of kicking myself internally right now listening to this because I'm saying a lot. My notes, I feel like were organized well before I started, but as I'm going, I just feel like it's kind of all over the place. So I know it's going to get better, and I want to encourage you that yours is going to get better. And one last stat, there is around almost 600 podcasters quit every single day, guys. So it's not really a game about, like, is your podcast good enough? I mean, yeah, your content plays a big role. Content is king. Like if you're not saying something that needs to be heard or sharing a message that is helpful for people, you're probably not going to go anywhere. So yes, that's important. But the biggest thing is you could have something that's important and beneficial to people, but maybe you're not practiced up enough, or maybe you haven't put out enough content yet to be discovered. So all I'm trying to say is you need a system. You need to a way to create content that is sustainable, that you have a plan for, and that you have a goal and you are accountable to people to make this happen. Don't be one of the 593 podcasters who quit every single day. Have a plan, make it happen, follow through. So I'm just going to be documenting my journey as I go through this first 100 episodes as a podcaster, and I'm going to be trying to find the best path forward, and I'm going to be passing it back to you guys as I go. And I just hope that I can be there to lend a hand back and say, hey, this is the way you should go. I would avoid this, maybe try this. And again, like everybody's journey is a little bit different. I'm not going to be able to 100% say avoid this or do this, but at the end of the day, I do want to give you guys a lot of value and help you as best I can. So, the personal journey. As a lifelong musician and an artist, Caleb, why would you start this venture? So that's a great question, and so this is where I'm going to get into some of my music a little bit more and tie into why it matters for kind of bridging the gap between the world of podcasting and the world of music. So recently I was working with a team, and I wanted to understand all of us to better and learn how we could interact with one another better. And I took the 16 personalities quiz type, and I'm the INFJ, which is the advocate. And one of the superpowers or strengths of the INFJ is they love to help people. And that really stuck out to me and kind of just reminded and imprinted on my mind kind of some core values or core things that really help guide and direct my life and give me energy in my life. And it took me back to a couple of years ago. A couple of years ago, I closed my teaching studio during COVID. at the height of COVID to pursue recording music and producing music. And I was like, you know what? This is the time to actually pursue my songwriting and try to make something out of this dream and goal of being a songwriter. And so I set out to do that, and I did it for about 2 years. I'm thankful that I did it because I got the skills to be able to mix and edit music, to produce music better. I started working with podcasts. But I found out in the middle of that, like I got to a point with music that I hated music. I did not want to touch the piano, which is my main instrument. I didn't want to sing. I didn't want to play any music. I didn't want to do any of it. And it got to that place because I was so focused on me and focused on trying to get my career to move and trying to get my music promoted and all this sort of stuff. And it just felt really unauthentic, and it was like sandpaper for me. And as I was working through that, I had the opportunity in the middle of it to go help my dad work on a friend's deck. And this friend had tried to hire another crew and it didn't work out. And I just remember finishing that project and this friend being so grateful to my dad and I for getting his deck installed and how good I felt for helping him. And I was like, man, if I could package helping people up and make a living on that by helping other people, actually making a difference in their life and watching the light bulb moment for them like that, I would love that. That would be amazing. And so as I started working with some podcast clients and editing things and getting similar results there, it just kind of fanned the flame as an INFJ where I was helping people and I was like, wow, this is it. This is so much fun. I'm helping these people share a message with their listeners that I believe is encouraging and blessing and just changing lives for people for the people who are listening to these podcasts. And so I was like, you know what? I really enjoy that. I really enjoy the medium of podcast. I enjoy listening to podcasts. Why don't I see if I can create a business around that where I can help other people create this? The other sides of it are that I really believe it's going to help me be a better speaker and share my thoughts more clearly with others. I believe that we're only limited really in life. I mean, there's some things that can limit us, but I think one thing that could really limit people is the ability to take your thoughts and turn them into words and share them with people in a way that other people can understand. The skill of being a communicator. So I'm excited for that as well, that I can develop that in myself, and hopefully help you guys along with that. It's going to help me with my music as well too, because music is like podcasting in the sense that there's so much content being created every day. I think some of these frameworks that I help create here that are going to help you guys are hopefully going to stream back over into music and be a blessing maybe to musicians there as well and myself. So there's some selfish reasons for setting out on this, but at the heart of it, it's really that I want to help other people, and I find joy in helping people with their podcasts. So to wrap it up, I just want to leave you guys with a quick recap. Basically, this podcast is here as an open journey, an open documentary of my journey, and I want it to be a place that you can be encouraged and inspired with your journey. And honestly, I'm going to save that part. That's my call to action. So, but before I get there, I want to give you this quote from Teddy Roosevelt. And this is something that has just kind of rung true in my life. And it's something that when I discovered it, I really kind of clung to it. And so I want to pass it on to you. And you've probably heard it before. But it says, "It is not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles, or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, and who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes short again and again, because there is no effort without error and shortcoming. But who does actually strive to do the deeds, who knows great enthusiasms, the great devotions, who spends himself in a worthy cause, who at the very best knows in the end the triumph of high achievement, And at the very worst, if he falls, at least he falls while daring greatly, so that his place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who neither knew victory nor defeat. So my call to action to you guys today is go start your podcast. Make it happen. And if you're not ready to publish something yet, go put the steps in order to make it happen. Talk to some people, message me, have me hold you accountable to start building a system so that you can create the content and create the podcast that you are so eager to start. Don't be just a dreamer, be a doer. Don't go to that place where you neither know victory nor defeat. Don't let the critics slow you down. Don't let them stop you. The critic could be somebody in your life who's very vocal about it and thinks it's a dumb idea, or the critic can literally be your own self-doubt in your own mind. Don't believe the critic. Get out there and make it happen. And if you need help making it happen, reach out to me. Find my contact info in the show notes. Shoot me a message. Let's jump on a Zoom call. Let's email. Let's text. Let's make it happen for you. So I'm in your corner. I want to see you succeed, and I want you to share your story. Hit me up, and we'll see you in the next episode. Until then, happy podcasting.